Hi N4A, I hope you guys had fun making your S lists yesterday. We're going to spend the next few days this week talking about a really cool S thing, and that is the solar system. Does anyone here know what the solar system is? Raise your hand if you know what the solar system is. Okay, well, if you don't, I'm going to explain it now. And I'm going to start with thinking about where you are right now. So take a second and look around. Right now, I am in my apartment. You guys might be in your apartment, your house, someone else's house. My apartment is in Riverdale. Riverdale is a place in New York. Who here also lives in New York? Who's currently in New York right now? Some of you might not be in New York, but some of you live in New York, right? Most of us live in New York usually. When we're at school, right, we live in New York. Well, New York is a city that's inside of a state that's also called New York. And the United States of America has 50 states. See all these states here? This one's California, Texas, and over here is New York. We all live in this state. Some of us aren't in that state right now. Let's see if I can find little tiny New Jersey that some of us are in right now. But we all live in New York usually. Now, New York is part of the United States of America. The United States of America is part of, what's this? The Earth, right? The United States of America is part of the Earth. So we all live in our apartments in New York, in the United States of America, in the Earth. Well, the Earth is inside of something also. The Earth is inside of the solar system. Here is my big chart of the solar system. The solar system is where the Earth lives, but it's made up of a few things actually. The solar system is made up of the sun, that's the main and biggest part of the solar system, the sun, and planets and other things that surround it. For example, asteroids, moons, stars, things like that. So the solar system is the sun and everything that goes around it. Everything in the solar system goes around the sun. Later, we're going to learn a really fancy word for things that go around the sun. So let's look at the sun for a minute. I have a little picture here I can bring closer. Here is the sun. What color is the sun? Can you look closely? Yeah, it's made up of like oranges and reds and yellows and things like that. Super, super, super hot. Think about when you are going to make rice or spaghetti and you take water and you put it on a flame and you boil it and you make that water really hot. Like if you touch it, you'll burn yourself. The sun is even hotter than that. You could not touch the sun at all. It's super hot. It's also the very biggest thing in our solar system, the sun. Now, planets are round things that go around the sun. We have 8 primary planets. Can you say primary planets? Try that. Primary planets. Go for it. That's right. Now, do you remember what I said? How many primary planets do we have? We have 8. Very good. There are other kinds of planets which are called dwarf planets. Dwarf planets are really small planets. Planets are pretty big and dwarf planets are small. So we have 8 primary planets that are big and a lot of dwarf planets. Now, I want to show you a quick picture of each of the 8 primary planets, okay? I'm going to show you, and I'm going to start with the ones that are close to the sun, and then I'm going to get to the ones that are far from the sun. But I want you to think for a minute. If you are a planet that is close to the sun, do you think it's going to be hot on that planet or cold? Think for a minute. I think that if your planet is really close to this super hot sun, it's probably going to be hot on that planet. And that means that planets that are really far from the sun are probably going to be pretty cold, right? Now, before I get to them, look at my chart here. Can you spot Earth? Do you see where it is? I'll give you a hint. It's a mixture of like blues and greens because we have water and land on our planet. It's right here, Earth. It's actually pretty close to the sun, which is why it gets hot on Earth sometimes, right? We're not covered in ice. No, because we're pretty close to the sun. We can get some heat. So I'm going to tell you one thing about each planet, and tomorrow I'm going to tell you really cool things about all of the planets, okay? Let's start with the planet that's closest to the sun. The planet closest to the sun is Mercury. This is Mercury. I'm going to turn it over, actually, even though it looks kind of the same. Now, Mercury is pretty small, but since it's really close to the sun, what do you think about Mercury? Hot or cold? Super hot. It's actually the hottest planet because it's closest to the sun. Now, next, moving away from the sun, we have Venus. Now, Venus is also a hot planet, but the position that Venus is in, the sun never really shines on it, and it's always cloudy in Venus. Think about yesterday. I think when we did weather, we said that it was cloudy out. Imagine if it was cloudy every single day, you never got sunlight. That would be like living on Venus. Okay, the next one from the sun is our planet, planet Earth. This is where we live. It's made up of land and water. And it's actually the only planet that has people that live on it. There are no people that live in Venus and no people that live on Mercury. Only Earth. It's the only one of all the 8 primary planets and all of the dwarf planets that has people who live on it. Going even further from the sun, we get to Mars. Have you guys ever heard of Mars? You've probably heard of the planet Mars because we send spaceships up there sometimes to try to learn about it. You know, you can see some planets with your eyes. If you look up at the sky and you see some stars that seem extra bright, those might be planets, actually. Some planets, though, you can't really see much unless you're using a telescope or unless you go up into the space with like a spaceship, right? And you're an astronaut. So Mars has a lot of spaceships that try to go there. So that's why you've heard of Mars. Now, Mars has a nickname. The nickname for Mars has to do with the color. What color is it? It's red. It's called the red planet. Mars is the red planet. But here's something confusing about it. It's not hot. It's pretty far from the sun. It's just the color that it's made up of is red, but it's not a hot planet. This is the red planet Mars. Next, we've got the biggest planet of all, Jupiter. Look how huge it is. I'm going to show you what Mars looked like. And Jupiter is humongous. It's the biggest planet of all of them. It's bigger than Earth. It's bigger than Venus. It's bigger than Mercury. It's not bigger than the sun because the sun is the biggest thing in the whole solar system, but Jupiter is the biggest planet. Now we've done the sun, Mercury, the hot planet, Venus, the cloudy planet, Earth, our planet, Mars, the red planet, Jupiter, the biggest planet, Saturn. Saturn is a pretty cool one because it has rings around it. You see those rings? You like that? It looks pretty cool, right? I think it looks pretty cool. It's got this big ring around it. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you what the ring is made of. It's cool. Guess, what do you think it might be made of? Maybe rocks, maybe water, maybe clouds. We're going to find out tomorrow, but this one is Saturn. Next after Saturn, we have Uranus. Uranus also has rings around it. I'm going to hold it close so you can see them. I'm going to block me even. See those blue rings around it? Jupiter, you can see these big ones. Uranus has blue rings. I think it's really pretty. It's also kind of purplish, which is my favorite color. So here's Uranus, the blue rings. And the last planet furthest from the sun over here is Neptune. Neptune is the windiest planet. The winds are so strong that if you tried to go there, you'd be blown over. It's so windy. It's nothing like Mercury, the hot planet. No way. Neptune is so, so far from the sun. It is freezing cold and so windy. Now, about 15 years ago, the scientists thought that there was actually 9 primary planets. Remember I said there's only 8? The scientists used to think that there was 9. And then they realized that planet number 9 was so tiny that it was really a dwarf planet and not a primary planet. But that planet was Pluto. See how small it is? So scientists used to think that Pluto was the 9th primary planet, but it's actually a dwarf planet right now. When I was in school and when your parents were in school, we were taught that Pluto was a primary planet, but now we know it's a dwarf planet. So let's look at my map of the solar system one more time. Remember, the solar system is the sun and all of the things that go around the sun. Things like planets, things like moons, things like asteroids, which are rocks, big rocks in the sky. Let's review those planets. The sun, Mercury, the hot planet, Venus, the cloudy planet, Earth, our planet, Mars, the red planet, Jupiter, the giant planet, Saturn, the planet with rings, Uranus, the planet with blue rings, and Neptune, the windy planet. Are you ready to learn the fancy word for going around the sun? When we talk about the solar system, we don't say planets go around the sun. We use a fancy grown-up word. That fancy grown-up word is orbit. Can you say orbit? Okay. Whisper, orbit. Good. Now a little louder. Orbit. And now shout it at me. Orbit! Oh, good job. Orbit means going around the sun. In the next video, I'm going to show you what it means to go around the sun. See you later.